My name's Lori Chase, and I'm a SteppingStones member, and I'm interviewing SteppingStones member Barbara Wentworth this morning. Good morning, Barbara. I want to tell you, you look fabulous today.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Lori. Right back at you.
First question I would like to ask you is, what was your life like before your injury?
Before my injury, I lived in Saco, Maine, and I played professional women's football. I had just gotten my master's in social work, and I was working full-time at the Spurwink School. It's for, adolescents who are troubled. I was working there counseling individual and group therapy sessions. I was playing professional women's football. I was working out every day. I gotten married on May 25th to my husband, who has been my boyfriend since I was 19. And that's pretty much my life in a snapshot before my stroke.
Okay, now will you tell me about your injury, when it happened, and the nature of it, please?
Mm-hmm. I had a stroke the day after Christmas. I was very ill, and we had called my doctor numerous times, and my doctor assumed that it was dehydration, and was telling my husband to really push fluids on me, and so he kept trying to push fluids on me. I kept not having the fluids, and so I spent the entire day at the base of the toilet, just being really, really ill. And at the end of the day, I hadn't thrown up for almost like 10 or 15 minutes, so I was pretty excited, ready to go to bed. And what happened then was I told my husband I wanted to go to bed, and he said, okay, well, let's go. And I told him that I couldn't walk. And I think he thought that I was just maybe being a tad bit dramatic. Maybe I could walk, but I didn't want to. And he did ask me if I wanted to go to the doctors, but I said no. At that point, I wasn't looking forward to going and sitting in the emergency room the day after Christmas for Lord knows how long. I just wanted to go to bed. And so he took me into bed, and that's the last thing I remember for a couple of weeks, from what I've been told. The next morning, my husband went to work, and my mother actually came to take care of me. And she, unlike my husband, was all about like pushing the fluid. She had called the doctor again. We had talked to the doctor actually at this point probably 4 or 5 times. And she was definitely like the ultimate nurse, like pushing fluids, and she was doing that so often that eventually I had to use the restroom, and she told me to get up and go, and I told her I couldn't. It was down the hallway, and I couldn't make the long walk. And I think that she, like my husband, thought maybe I was being a tad bit dramatic, so she got like a chair and said that we would try it that way. Like I would get up, walk a few feet, and then sit in the chair, walk a few more feet. And when I sat in the chair, I wet myself, which was not like me. So we went to the emergency room. The nurse there was convinced that it was drug use, and at that point I was semi-conscious, and he wouldn't supply a wheelchair. So my stepdad had to carry me into the emergency room, and then they wouldn't really, we waited for quite a while before they even did testing on me, and then through the testing, it took a couple hours for them before they figured out like, oh wow, she's having a stroke, this is really bad. And at that point I was dying. My brain had been swelling for the past 24 to 48 hours. And so I was rushed to Maine Medical Center. At that point, they felt that it would take too long to have me go to Boston. And there was a surgeon who was just as good at Maine Medical. So I went there. I had an emergency craniotomy. and my stroke was in my cerebellum. So I'm very fortunate because you have two cerebellums. So one of my cerebellums is completely dead, but you have another one, so you can kind of relearn all those pathways. And I had emergency craniotomy, and I was probably in ICU for probably like a couple of weeks, and then in New England rehab for a month, and then Edgewood for a month, and then Portsmouth rehab for 7 months. So I had a lot of fantastic rehab, and for those of you that don't know, emergency craniotomy is actually where they remove a part of your skull, and it was because my brain was swelling so much they didn't want to push against the skull and create more damage. It was already affecting my frontal lobe, and they just kind of let it breathe and then put it back together.
Did you have to wear a crazy helmet?
I did not have to wear a crazy helmet, no. I have a scar on the back of my head, from my neck to the middle of my head. It's probably about 6 inches long. And I did, however, have to shave my head. I used to have long, beautiful hair. And then so I did have to shave my head, but I didn't have to wear a helmet.
You're lucky.
I am very lucky, very.
Because I had to do that. It
Yeah.
was no fun, really.
No, it's not any fun.
What is a crazy helmet?
A helmet is just like, actually, can I say this? Someone here wears a helmet, so that it's just to protect your head, like especially if there's a soft spot, because they replaced the skull. If they had not replaced the skull during my surgery, then it would be soft and I would have to wear a helmet, so that if anything, any kind of pressure to it or anything like that would, as Lori knows, damage it.
Yes. Well, I had my bone out for like 3 months.
Yeah,
I had to wear a helmet
before
all
they-
the time.
yeah.
Before they could put it back, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they know what caused your stroke, Barb?
You know, they don't. I don't have, there's no family history of having strokes or heart attacks or anything like that. I wasn't obese, didn't have high blood pressure. The only thing they did at first think that possibly football. I had actually received an injury from a tackle at practice a few weeks before, but there was no tearing or anything like that that would lead them to believe that it actually was caused by a football. So other than that, I was on birth control for like 10 years. I started really young because my cycle was pretty heavy, so I started really young, and they think that might have contributed, maybe not. And from the stroke, or before the stroke, I have a blood disorder, which is why I still have to take blood thinners, called anti-lipid bodies, which means something in your body. It's you normally have, like a healthy person has anti-lipid bodies, which means it's just an antibody that your body creates, and I have an anti, so it creates too many of them, which is why I have to still be on a blood thinner.
So did you end up having an ischemic stroke or hemorrhagic?
Ischemic. So I had a clot in my cerebellum.
Mm-hmm. No, you didn't say what year it was that this happened.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it will be 3 years ago, the day after Christmas this year. So it's probably 2002. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Or 2001, I think. Yeah, because it was December 27th, so maybe it was just about to turn. So, yes. 2001.
Do you want to talk about some of your rehab experiences?
I have been, rehab has just been phenomenal. I really consider myself incredibly lucky because I did receive so much rehab for 10 months. After my stroke, I couldn't walk, talk, tie my shoes, any of that stuff. So I really feel that part of the reason why I've recovered so well is definitely my age. Part of it is where I had my stroke, the fact that I was in a cerebellum. That's like the best place that you can possibly have a stroke. And then, I just think that I'm really blessed in that everyone just really focused on, getting me back 100%, and people really pushed. So I went from not being able to walk to a wheelchair to a walker to a cane to an AFO to being free now. And the same with talking actually took me the longest. I would say it was probably almost a year before I sounded normal. And yeah.
Do you want to talk about what it was like when you couldn't talk, how frustrating that was, and what happened?
That was a little, it was definitely frustrating, but like I've told a couple of people, is that it's not, for me, it wasn't like if you took away my ability to speak now, because my mind is functioning at a different level than my mind was then. So it was frustrating for me, but not in the way you would think. I definitely think I not only reverted, like I wasn't able to do all those things, but also I reverted to more of a childlike state. So it was like a 4 or 5-year-old not being able to talk. So yeah, I was frustrating, but not like it would be frustrating if that was to happen to me now. Definitely in two totally different worlds. And I think that too, I was so, just like a 4 or 5-year-old, very selfish, very self-centered. My world was what was around me. So I never once thought about my house, what was going on there. My husband's life, like, oh, he was still working. He was still doing all these other things. There was bills to pay, and all these things that I really didn't, I didn't think about at all. I was just kind of, my world was, in my hospital room, in my rehab room, and that's really all that mattered to me.
So what was the most difficult thing that happened to you as a result of your stroke?
The most difficult thing, before my stroke, I would say that 100% my belief had always been that I was a career woman, and that was kind of my ideal. That's why I went from high school to college to grad school, all right in a row, because I was always going to work, and then when it became time, my husband was going to stay home with our children. And now that has totally changed. And I can't imagine not being home with our children whenever that will come, soon enough. I just really, everything has done an about face, and part of my kind of changing has been accepting the fact that I do have a disability and what that means in my life. I can't see me, but I present pretty well, and I think that can fool myself and other people. Definitely myself. I don't think it's probably been until the last month or so that I've really embraced the difficulties that I still have, and and that has been a really, it took almost 3 years for me to fully embrace and understand, wow, this is my life now. Whereas before, a couple months ago, I never said I'm not working. I just said I'm not working right now. Like, I'm volunteering, I'm busy doing all this stuff. And that is true, but I don't see working in my future. And that's been incredibly difficult for me to embrace the fact that my whole vision has changed of what my life was going to be. And also the word disabled, and really challenging myself on all of the kind of prejudices I have about being disabled, and all of the, I realized that when it came to everyone else, I was fine. I mean, I didn't have any prejudices. I was fine. I was embracing that. That was all good. But me being disabled is a whole different ball of wax, and kind of looking at that and looking at, you know, everything I had previously in dealing with being disabled was negative. All of my thought processes were, oh, if I'm disabled, that means this whole slew of things. That means being weak. That means being lazy. You know, all these things. And you know, and understanding, changing my perception of what that means for me, and that being completely different has been a tremendous feat for me, and I'm still going through it. It's going to be kind of a fight that I do for a while, that I can say in the same breath, I'm disabled and I'm doing a marathon. I'm kind of embracing that as a new experience for me.
Now, you went through a time period where you didn't drive. You want to talk about that?
For a year, I didn't drive. Wow. That was horrible. I just really... I have always been a driver. As people know now that I have my license back, like, I was never a passenger. I never liked other people driving. I get really car sick pretty easily. And over that year, I had to ask for other people to drive, and wow, that was just really hard. Accepting other people's, I'm not very good at asking for help either. I don't like it at all. And I had no choice. I mean, I had to ask for help. And not only that, but asking for help and in the same breath being like frustrated. Like, someone else has to drive. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that was definitely difficult. And I've never taken a driving test. When I got my driver's license, it was just like it was a class in school that we took. And so that was a whole new experience for me, that I was very nervous about. Obviously very nervous about, oh, what if this doesn't pan out for me? So, yeah, so that was a long road to getting my license back. And it felt like forever. It really did. When I didn't have my license, it felt like forever. And now that I do, it's like, I unfortunately take it for granted, I think. You can't really appreciate it, I don't think.
I hear you on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, was there one discipline of rehab that really, do you think, helped you out the most?
In one way, in some ways, I think speech probably helped me out the most. Maybe that's just because, like, with physical rehab and occupational rehab, I'm not 100% on my right hand or, you know, running, and I still notice some deficits in that area. But with my speech, I think that my actual speech, I don't feel like I have difficulty with that I notice, but there are difficulties, like I'll forget what I want to say, or I'll say something completely different. I'll forget how to spell something. You know, just like all those different difficulties that I have. But my actual speaking is fine, I feel like. So, yeah, I think speech was definitely the best for me.
Now, one thing you haven't mentioned yet was that you used to be right-handed and now you're left-handed. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it is true. Yes, I did used to be right-handed, and now I'm left-handed, and that still provides a lot of challenges for me. I don't write as fast as I used to. I don't write as pretty as I used to, and just trying to have certain things I do every single day with my right hand. It's very challenging, and I'm playing volleyball. And there's a lot of times I'm supposed to, you know, go up both-handed, and I just, my right hand is asleep. It's not in the game. So, you know, it's definitely challenging. I haven't been as good. I think I could be a lot more disciplined with being left-handed, incorporating my right hand more it's just hard. And, you know, it's easier to do with my left hand.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, it's not difficult at all. So, unfortunately, I fall into that pattern where I will just use my left hand because it's easier. So.
Now, recently you gave a speech in front of a couple hundred people, didn't you, for the American Heart Association? Would you like to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. I've actually been, I'm trying to maneuver into being a spokesperson for stroke. And so far I've probably done like 15 different speaking engagements through SteppingStones and through the Heart Association and through Train to End Stroke. So kind of a little bit of everything, definitely.
Can you talk about the marathon you're doing?
Yes. Yeah, it's called Train to End Stroke, and it happens to be in Hawaii, December 11th, and it is a full marathon. It's 26.2 miles. Train to End Stroke, all the proceeds from it goes to the American Stroke Association, which is a division of the American Heart Association. And all the money that I raise, I have to raise a minimum of $4,400, which is a challenge in and of itself, a fun one. And 70% of all the money that I raise will go to research and education, and 30% will go to expenses. So right now, I've done 12 miles. This weekend I'll do 14 miles. And I've raised just over $2,000 so far. So
That's great, Barb. I heard that you wrote a book. Would you like to talk about your book?
I did write a book called A Random Stroke of Grace. And, you know, it's just, unfortunately, I've been kind of lazy about it. Like, it's been on the back burner for just far too long. I haven't approached enough publishers about it. I was really gung-ho about it for a while. It's about 200 pages. And it's all about my experience during my rehab. Part of my speech homework was to keep a journal, and so I have a journal from the time that shortly after I had my stroke until like a year after. And then also I wrote a letter to all of my friends and family asking for their kind of feedback, what their experience of, you know, how they found out that I had a stroke, who it was from, you know, what their thoughts and feelings were. So that's kind of a great venue, I think, that I have in there. And that's probably a good third of the book. And then the other third is just me. It's just me talking about my experience. And so pretty soon, I think, you know, I'm definitely going to get back on, after the marathon, I think on December 11th, I'll start more kind of approaching and really being gung-ho about getting that out there, for sure. Mm-hmm. So.
Did you include that poem that you wrote about, your mom wrote about the Portsmouth Newington rehab in there?
Yes.
That was a wonderful poem.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I actually have a copy of it at home.
Oh, you do? Nice. Yeah, my mom's quite the little poet. She loves writing poems.
Can you tell me how SteppingStones has influenced your life?
Oh, wow. I'm a huge fan of SteppingStones. When I first came here, I'll have to say that I don't know, like, I just kept coming because Pam, who I run the groups with now, she was my mom's best friend, and she told her about this place and me about this place. And I came and I just kept coming, and it's opened up a whole new world. I really think that there is something to be said for knowing other people. So I do think that there is something to knowing other people that have had the same experiences, and having people of very different functioning levels to kind of share with you their experience, and also just being able to kind of get back into the therapy world of doing co-facilitating and facilitating support groups here have been really wonderful, and I've met a lot of people here, and I've been really fortunate that I get to not only see the member side of it, but see the administrative side of it, and be a part of intern meetings and all this stuff. I mean, it's just really wonderful that I kind of get a broad range of things to kind of understand and be a part of.
Now, the people that know your story know that you're a big inspirational figure around here. How do you feel about that? That you have to live up to that every day when you come?
Oh, Lord. Okay, here's the thing. It's just like the reason why I wrote my book. Something that someone asked me was, what do you want people to get from reading your book? What's the one thing you want to have from your story? Anytime I speak, anytime I share, anything about myself, I really want people to have, it's like after you watch a certain movie or you get a certain email, you have that moment of where you just feel really full. You really feel like you love everyone and you're going to change the world, and just really inspired and motivated to make a difference. And we all have watched those kind of movies and seen, gotten those kind of emails. And I want to provide people with a moment like that, whether it's a second, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 hours, couple days, couple weeks, whatever people can get. Then I'm everything happens for a reason, and if I can touch anyone's life by sharing my story, oh my gosh, I'm all about it, for sure.
What do you think the future holds for you, Barb? Or what would you like it to hold for you?
Well, December 11th, it will hold a marathon for me. And then right after that, this huge, exciting next chapter of my life is I met with a specialist who specializes in high-risk pregnancies, which I will be since I'm on the blood thinner. So January, I will start trying to conceive. So having a family, I'm in awe of that experience. I really am excited, and the only reason why I'm waiting until January is because of the marathon. But otherwise, I'd be doing it today. And I'm sure my husband is glad that I have to wait until January too. So that, and then I really do hope that I'm able to be a spokesperson and kind of share my story more and more, and publish my book. And pretty soon I'm feeling I might be on Oprah. It could happen. Definitely. And I'll meet Teddy Bruschi in a couple of weeks, so I'll Teddy Bruschi is, he's a player for the New England Patriots. He had a stroke, and he rocks the house. It's Teddy Bruschi. It's phenomenal. So I'm going to meet him, and he's also a young guy, and hopefully we'll have the young, had a stroke, love football connection.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I want to wish you luck in your fundraising and in your race.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I'm excited about it.
I'd like to thank you for talking with me today, Barbara.
Thanks. Good to talk with you.